Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. The video begins with a stunning time-lapse. Ancient ruins slowly morph into a bustling, futuristic city. The camera zooms through abandoned streets, crumbling statues, and faded manuscripts before transitioning into scenes of innovation, progress, and human resilience. Narrator. How does a fallen world rise again? Could the remnants of a lost civilization hold the blueprint for an even greater future? Introduction to the Eye. Topic. This video explores the rebirth of civilization, how societies have risen from the ashes of collapse to forge new paths forward. From ancient cities rebuilt after disasters to post-apocalyptic societies in history and fiction, we examine how humanity reconstructs, adapts, and thrives. Why this matters. What drives people to rebuild after catastrophe? How do past innovations shape the future? What lessons can we learn from societies that have risen again? Video roadmap, historical context, examples of civilizations that have rebuilt after collapse. The visionaries, leaders and innovators who guided these renaissances. Challenges and breakthroughs, the struggles, triumphs, and key discoveries that made survival possible. Modern parallels, how today's world could be shaped by lessons from the past. Let's dive into the incredible journey of salvaged societies and uncover the secrets of rebuilding civilization. The video opens with a sweeping aerial shot of an ancient city in its prime, thriving marketplaces, grand monuments, and innovative technologies. Suddenly, the imagery shifts to scenes of destruction, abandoned streets, crumbling buildings, and faded echoes of a once great society. Narrator. Every great civilization has its peak and its downfall. But what happens after the fall? Can a society truly rise again from the ruins? Let's explore how civilizations throughout history have been salvaged, renewed, and rebuilt from the remnants of the past. The world before. Salvage. A lost golden age. Before we explore the process of rebuilding, we must first understand what was lost. This section delves into the civilization that came before, what made it great and what led to its demise. Technological and cultural achievements. The advanced systems, innovations, and societal structures that defined this world. Examples. The vast road networks of Rome, the engineering marvels of the Maya, or the economic power of pre-collapse societies. Causes of collapse. Civilizations don't fall for a single reason. Often, it's a combination of factors that lead to their undoing. Natural disasters, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, like Pompeii, droughts, like the Mayan civilization, wars and invasions, the fall of Rome to barbarian invasions, the Mongol destruction of cities, World War II devastations, economic and social breakdown, financial crises, internal corruption, failing infrastructure, plagues and pandemics, the Black Death's effect on medieval Europe, the Spanish flu's impact on global society. Narrator. When civilizations collapse, it often seems like the end, but history tells us something different. Out of destruction, a new order emerges. The concept of salvage and renewal. How civilizations rebuild. What does it mean to salvage a civilization? A salvaged civilization is one that arises from the ruins of a previous society, using its knowledge, remnants, and cultural heritage to rebuild. Instead of starting from scratch, these societies reclaim what was lost and reimagine it for a new age. Historical and mythological parallels. The Renaissance. How Europe reclaimed lost Greco-Roman knowledge after the Dark Ages. The rebirth of Japan, post-World War II, how a nation devastated by war rebuilt itself into a global powerhouse. The legend of Atlantis. The idea that lost knowledge from a past civilization could shape future societies. Narrator. Throughout history, we see civilizations rising from the ashes, but who leads these transformations? Let's meet the visionaries behind history's greatest renaissances. Identifying the founders. The architects of renewal. For a society to be reborn, there must be individuals or groups willing to lead the charge. These are the visionaries, innovators, and revolutionaries who refuse to let the past fade into obscurity. The visionaries and their contributions. The Medici family, Italy 15th century. patrons of the Renaissance who revived art, science, and literature. Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, Turkey, 20th century. Led Turkey's transformation into a modern state after the Ottoman collapse. The Wright brothers and space pioneers, innovators who used existing knowledge to push humanity forward into new frontiers. The challenges they faced: resistance from those clinging to the past or opposing change, limited resources, economic hardships, and political obstacles. The struggle to unify fractured societies and rebuild trust in leadership. Narrator. History shows us that civilizations are not just built on stone and steel, but on ideas, leadership, and the determination to rise again. But how did these founders overcome the challenges ahead? That's what we'll explore next. Closing thoughts for this section. As we move into the next phase of our discussion, we'll explore the crucial moments when these founders put their ideas into action. What strategies did they use? What obstacles stood in their way? And how? Did their decisions shape the new world? Next up, the visionaries take action. The battle to rebuild a civilization. After a civilization crumbles, it takes extraordinary individuals to bring it back from the brink. But who were these people? What drove them to rebuild? And what challenges did they face along the way? This section of the video delves deep into the personal stories of the visionaries who salvaged a shattered society, exploring their motivations, struggles, and the philosophies that shaped the new world. Personal stories and motivations. Who were the founders? A salvaged civilization does not emerge by accident. It is forged by leaders, thinkers, and pioneers who refuse to let the past be lost. But their journeys are often shaped by hardship, personal loss, and an unshakable vision of something greater. Profile of a founder. Each major societal rebirth is marked by key figures whose backgrounds often include exile or displacement. Many founders come from the margins of a collapsed society, seeking to create something better. Survival against the odds. War veterans, refugees, revolutionaries, or thinkers who have endured societal breakdown firsthand. A burning ideological or philosophical vision, a belief in unity, progress, or a radical departure from the past. Examples from history. Julius Caesar and Augustus, Rome's transition from republic to empire. After the chaos of the Roman Republic's collapse, Augustus Octavian led a radical restructuring of governance, creating a more stable yet centralized power system. Genghis Khan, unifying the Mongol tribes. From outcast to conqueror, Genghis Khan united warring Mongol factions to create one of the largest empires in history. Nelson Mandela, rebuilding South Africa post-apartheid, emerging from decades. In prison, Mandela led a deeply divided nation toward reconciliation and reconstruction. Post-Wu leaders, Marshall Plan and rebuilding Japan and Germany, visionary policies and economic strategies helped rebuild shattered nations. Narrator. Each of these figures had a choice: accept the chaos and live in the ruins, or take the first step toward rebuilding. What drove them was not just survival, but the belief in a better world. Overcoming challenges. The struggle to rebuild even with a vision. Rebuilding a civilization is not easy. The early stages are often marked by scarcity, conflict, and opposition from remnants of the old world. Key challenges faced by the founders. 1. Scarce resources and infrastructure collapse, food shortages, lack of clean water, destroyed roads, and no functioning government. Historical parallels. The post-apocalyptic nature of post-World War II Europe and Japan. Solutions. Large-scale resource allocation programs, e.g., Marshall Plan, early Mesopotamian irrigation systems. 2. Social conflicts and power struggles, people. Divided by ideology, ethnicity, or class tensions. Old power structures clinging to control while new leaders emerge. Example. The French Revolution struggles to stabilize after monarchy collapse. 3. Rebuilding knowledge and technology. Lost educational and technological advancements need rediscovery. Example. The European Renaissance rediscovering Greek and Roman knowledge after the Dark Ages. 4. Establishing new leadership and governance. New rules and systems must be built from scratch while avoiding past mistakes. Example. The American founding fathers drafting the Constitution after breaking away from the British monarchy. Narrator. Rebuilding is never easy. Every civilization that rises from the ashes must contend with conflict, scarcity, and resistance. But in these struggles, the seeds of a new society are planted. Core ideals and philosophy. What held the new civilization together? Once the immediate survival phase is over, a salvaged civilization must establish a shared identity and guiding principles to sustain its existence. The founder's vision plays a crucial role in shaping these foundational values. Defining the new ideals, unity and reconciliation, a focus on healing divisions from the past. Example, Nelson Mandela's post-apartheid South Africa, where forgiveness and nation-building took precedence. Sustainability and long-term planning. Unlike past civilizations that may have collapsed due to overconsumption, new societies often embrace sustainable methods. Example, indigenous ecological practices influencing modern sustainability movements. Innovation and adaptability. Learning from past failures to create a more resilient society. Example, the Meiji Restoration in Japan modernizing the nation by integrating Western technology with traditional Japanese values, comparing old and new ideologies, old civilization, salvaged civilization, rigid power structures, more adaptable. Leadership over reliance on unsustainable practices, focus on renewable resources, centralized control by elites, greater inclusion of different voices, expansionism, through war stability, through diplomacy and trade. Narrator. The strongest civilizations don't just survive, they learn. The founders of a salvaged society take lessons from the past to build something better, something lasting. Final thoughts. The legacy of the founders. As this section closes, we reflect on the enduring impact of these leaders. How did their decisions shape the future? What lessons can we take from their journeys? Up next, the rise of a new world, the society that emerged from the ashes. Call to action. What do you think makes a civilization survive and thrive? Comment below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, don't forget to subscribe for more. Stay tuned for the next chapter of the salvaged civilization. Rebuilding. A civilization is more than just survival. It's about creating a sustainable, thriving society from the ashes of the old. But how do visionaries design a new world? What lessons do they take from past failures? And how do culture, governance, and technology shape the future? In this section, we dive deep into the blueprints of a salvaged civilization, exploring the infrastructure, governance, cultural rebirth, and technological advancements that define the new era. Infrastructure and governance. The foundations of a new world. City planning and resource management. To civilization's success often hinges on how it manages its space and resources. In a salvaged society, planners must rebuild from ruins, using both old knowledge and new innovations. Strategic location selection. Founders often rebuild in areas rich in natural resources, defensibility, and trade potential. Example, the Rebirth of Rome after the sack of 410 AD. Its location on the Tiber River provided water, trade access, and strategic defense. Example, the rebuilding of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which integrated modern infrastructure while preserving cultural heritage. Urban design and architecture. Cities are designed for efficiency, resilience, and sustainability. Reclaimed materials and adaptive reuse, salvaging old ruins for new construction. Green spaces and water management, preventing overpopulation and pollution. Through urban planning. Energy and food production, transitioning from fossil fuels to solar, wind, and hydro energy. Implementing vertical farming and aquaponics to maximize food production in limited space. Governance and social order rebuilding. A civilization means establishing laws, leadership, and stability. But do the new rulers repeat the mistakes of the past, or do they create something entirely different? Types of governance, centralized leadership, monarchies, councils, or technocracies, ensures quick decision-making in crises. Decentralized and democratic systems allow for greater participation and prevent authoritarian rule. Example, Athens's transition to democracy after the fall of its aristocratic rulers. Justice and law enforcement. New laws focus on protecting individual rights while maintaining order. Legal systems evolve from previous traditions, balancing justice and fairness. Example: Hammurabi's Code, Babylon, early written laws that form the basis of many modern legal systems. Narrator. Laws shape a civilization's moral backbone. Without a fair system, even the strongest societies will crumble. Cultural and social evolution. The rebirth of identity civilizations are not just about infrastructure and laws. Culture, art, music, traditions, defines identity. In a salvaged society, cultural evolution is shaped by the trauma of the past and the hopes of the future. Art and literature, storytelling. A new world art and literature reflect the struggles and triumphs of rebuilding. Survivors often create new myths, stories, and symbols that reinforce unity. Murals and monuments. Many cultures memorialize their history through grand artistic expressions. Example: Post-World War Germany's rebuilding of Berlin, blending modernist architecture with historical preservation. Epic tales and literature. Founders. Stories become legends that inspire future generations. Example: the Iliad and Odyssey, Greek epics that helped define Hellenic identity after war. The evolution of social norms. New civilizations don't just rebuild structures, they reshape values. Changes in class structures meritocracy over aristocracy. Skill and knowledge become more valuable than inherited wealth. Example: the Industrial Revolution, where education replaced noble birth as the path to success. New religious or philosophical movements. After societal collapse, people seek meaning in new belief systems. Example: Buddhism in Japan, post-samurai era, offering spiritual solace. Narrator. As a civilization rises, so do its ideas. A salvaged world must decide which traditions to preserve and which to leave behind. Technological and environmental adaptations. Innovation for survival, rebuilding technology for a new age. Post-collapse civilizations must rediscover lost knowledge while pushing innovation forward. Restoring knowledge. Libraries and digital archives become crucial for recovering old technology. Example: the Islamic Golden Age, where scholars preserved Greek and Roman knowledge. Advancements in communication and data storage. With the loss of past infrastructures, encrypted digital libraries, satellite communication, and decentralized networks become essential. Sustainability and environmental adaptations. A salvaged civilization cannot afford to repeat past environmental mistakes. Sustainable energy and eco-cities. Smart cities integrate renewable energy, green architecture, and waste reduction. Example: Scandinavian sustainable cities incorporating wind farms and geothermal heating. Balancing old and new technology. Some past methods prove more effective than modern tech. Example: Roman aqueducts versus modern plumbing. Ancient systems used gravity, requiring no external energy. Narrator. Technology is a double-edged sword. If used wisely, it ensures survival. If misused, history repeats itself. Final reflections. The New Dawn. After years of hardship, the salvaged civilization is no longer just surviving. It is thriving. Its cities are flourishing with green energy and sustainable agriculture. Its laws balance order and freedom, preventing the mistakes of the past. Its people have forged a unique identity, blending tradition with innovation. Up next, how this society defends itself against future collapse. Call to action. Which innovation do you think is most crucial for rebuilding a civilization? Comment below. Subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest transformations. Stay tuned for the next chapter of this salvaged society. A civilization's story does not end with its successful rebuilding. It is measured by its lasting legacy. What impact do its founders' efforts have on future generations? How do their decisions shape society's trajectory? And what lessons can modern civilizations learn from the triumphs and failures of a world built from ruins? In this section, we explore the long-term effects of a salvaged civilization, from its contributions to education, technology, and governance, to the philosophical lessons that shape societies long after the original founders are gone. Long-term. Effects on society. A civilization's lasting footprint. A rebuilt civilization's influence extends far beyond its immediate survival. Its ideals, structures, and innovations continue to shape future generations in profound ways. Education and knowledge preservation. One of the most crucial aspects of a successful salvaged society is its commitment to preserving and advancing knowledge. Revival of learning centers and libraries. Founders ensure that past wisdom is not lost by establishing institutions to collect and teach knowledge. Example: the Renaissance. Europe's intellectual rebirth was fueled by rediscovered classical knowledge preserved by Islamic scholars. Example: the Library of Alexandria, if rebuilt, a central hub for scholars, ensuring that knowledge continues to evolve. Universal access to education. To prevent another collapse, salvaged civilizations. Invest in widespread education. Example: post-WW2 Japan. Massive reforms in education helped Japan become a global technological leader. Narrator. A civilization that rebuilds without educating its people is doomed to repeat history's mistakes. Technological and scientific advancements. After a collapse, technology becomes both a tool for rebuilding and a safeguard against future disasters. Governance and political evolution. New civilizations often take lessons from past governance failures and strive to build a fairer, more resilient political system. Adaptive legal systems. Governments evolve to balance stability with ease. Flexibility, preventing power imbalances. Example: the Magna Carta, 1215, a reaction to oppressive monarchy, leading to constitutional governance. Example: post-WOCs, Germany's democratic reforms, ensuring human rights and economic recovery. Global cooperation versus isolationism. Some societies rebuild by forming alliances with others, while some retreat into isolation to protect their fragile progress. Example: the European Union, born from war-torn nations working together for stability and prosperity. Example: Tokugawa Japan, 1603-1868, choosing isolation to prevent external threats while strengthening internally. Narrator. A civilization's survival depends not just on its internal strength, but on how it interacts with the rest of the world. Lessons learned. What can modern societies take away? Rebuilding from ruins teaches invaluable lessons about resilience, adaptation, and innovation. But can today's world learn from history to prevent similar collapses? The balance. Between tradition and progress, many salvaged civilizations face a difficult question of identity. Should they preserve old traditions, even if they contributed to the collapse? Or should they embrace change, risking the loss of cultural heritage? Example: the Roman Empire versus Byzantium. The Western Roman Empire fell, partly due to stagnation and corruption. The Byzantine Empire, Eastern Roman Empire, survived for another 1,000 years, adapting old Roman traditions into a new, evolving system. Narrator. A civilization that blindly clings to the past will decay, but one that abandons its roots entirely loses its soul. Sustainability and crisis. Preparedness. Environmental conservation. Salvaged civilizations teach us the cost of ignoring nature's limits. Example: the Mayan civilization's collapse due to deforestation and water mismanagement. Lesson: modern cities must prioritize green energy, conservation, and long-term sustainability. Crisis management and resilience. Future-proofing civilizations against economic, political, and climate-related disasters is essential. Example: Iceland's economic recovery. After the 2008 financial crisis, Iceland restructured its economy to be more resilient. Narrator. A society that does not prepare for crises will be unprepared for its own future. Expert opinions and comparative analysis. To understand a salvaged civilization's full impact, experts provide historical and futuristic perspectives. Historian perspectives. Lessons from the past. Dr. John Robertson, archaeologist. History is filled with civilizations that rose and fell. The successful ones always found ways to innovate while respecting the past. Dr. Sarah Malik, cultural anthropologist. A salvaged civilization is a reflection of human adaptability. The ability to take catastrophe and turn it into progress. Futurist perspectives. Could we salvage Earth today? Elon Musk. Tech. Visionary. If we don't protect Earth, we'll need a plan B, whether that's Mars colonization or sustainable urban technology. Dr. Michio Kaku, theoretical physicist. Salvaged civilizations remind us that we must be proactive, not reactive, when it comes to existential threats. Narrator. The past, present, and future are deeply connected. What we learn from history shapes how we prepare for tomorrow. Final reflection. The cycle of civilization. A salvaged civilization is a testament to human endurance. It proves that societies can rebuild, but also warns us about the fragility of human progress. It teaches us that innovation, resilience, and unity are essential for long-term survival. Up next, can modern society avoid the next collapse? Call to action. What lesson do you think is the most important from history's salvaged civilizations? Comment below. Subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest triumphs and tragedies. Stay tuned for the next chapter in our exploration of civilizations. Debate and discussion. Unraveling the controversies of a salvaged civilization. A civilization's rebirth from the ashes of collapse is a remarkable feat, but was it always just? Were the founders' actions entirely noble, or did they make difficult moral choices in the pursuit of survival? Could there be alternative explanations for how they rebuilt, and have historians overlooked key aspects of their story? In this section, we'll examine alternative viewpoints, challenge popular narratives, and open the floor for discussion. By exploring both controversial aspects and unresolved mysteries, we allow the audience to engage in deeper thought, debate, and discovery. Controversial aspects and alternate theories. While history often paints founders as visionaries or saviors, there are always multiple sides to the story. Were they truly benevolent architects of a new society, or did they make ruthless decisions that shaped the civilization's path? The ethics of rebuilding. Progress versus morality. Utilitarian leadership. Many founders prioritized efficiency over ethical concerns, making hard choices for the greater good. Some consolidated power, suppressing dissent to ensure order. Was this necessary, or was it authoritarianism disguised as stability? Example: the rebuilding of Rome under Augustus. Was his rule a golden age or the birth of imperial dictatorship? Resource distribution and class divides. Did the new civilization truly offer equal opportunities, or did some groups hoard wealth and power? Example: after the fall of feudalism, industrial-era leaders amassed great power. Was it true progress, or just a shift in control? Narrator. Did the founders build a utopia, or simply replace an old hierarchy with a new one? Unresolved conflicts. Were all voices heard? Who were the forgotten voices? In many historical narratives, we only hear the stories of the victors and elites. But what about the voices of the common people? Did dissenters or rival factions challenge the new order, only to be erased from history? Example: the American and French revolutions. Did they truly bring liberty for all, or did they only empower new ruling classes? Was the collapse inevitable? Could the old civilization have been saved rather than abandoned and replaced? Were there leaders or factions that opposed the rebuilding, believing it was a mistake? Example: the fall of the Aztec and Inca empires. Was resistance futile, or could an alternative path have saved them? Narrator. History is written by the survivors, but what if the ones who were lost had a different story to tell? Alternative theories. What else could have happened? Sometimes history is not as clear-cut as we think. Could there be alternative explanations for how this civilization was rebuilt? External influence? Were they helped by outsiders? Did a more advanced group, either technologically or philosophically, secretly guide the rebuilding process? Example: the sudden rise of the Renaissance. Was it purely a rediscovery of old knowledge, or was external influence at play? Lost knowledge versus true innovation. Was the new civilization truly new, or did it simply reconstruct forgotten wisdom from before the collapse? Example: The architectural and mathematical brilliance of ancient societies, was it self-taught, or did they inherit knowledge from a lost civilization? Narrator. Did the new civilization rise purely on its own merits, or did it stand on the shoulders of forgotten giants? Interactive engagement, sparking viewer. Debate. We don't just want to tell a story, we want to start a conversation. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Thought-provoking questions for viewers. Were the founders visionaries or opportunists? Did they rebuild with pure intentions, or did they seize power under the guise of progress? 2. Was there an alternative path to survival? Could this civilization have avoided collapse altogether, or was rebuilding the only option? 3. What voices do you think were silenced? History often leaves out the perspectives of commoners, rival factions, or outcast groups. Who do you think was left out of the official story? 4. Is history repeating itself today? Are there modern parallels to this salvaged civilization? Are we on the verge of our own collapse, or do we have the chance to prevent it? Conclusion. Reflections on the rise of a salvaged civilization. As we reach the end of this journey through destruction, resilience, and rebirth, we must ask, what does this story truly tell us? Not just about the past, but about our own future? The path from downfall to renewal is one that civilizations across history have walked, and it's one that we may walk again. What lessons can we take from those who rebuilt before us? And how can we ensure that when our own world faces collapse, we are ready to salvage and rebuild, stronger, wiser, and more united than ever? Let's take a final look at the key insights from this exploration. Recap of key points. From collapse to rebirth. The fall of a civilization. What led to collapse? Societal breakdown, environmental disasters, conflicts, or economic decline. No civilization is immune to these forces. The end of an era is often not a singular moment, but a slow unraveling caused by a combination of internal weaknesses and external pressures. Salvaging the past. The vision of the founders. Rebuilding is never easy. The pioneers of the new civilization had to make difficult choices, balancing survival, governance, and the preservation of knowledge. The values and ideologies that shaped their rebirth determined whether the new society would be more just, sustainable, and innovative, or simply a continuation of past mistakes. Innovation and adaptation. How they built the future. Success of the salvaged civilization depended on technological advancements, resource management, and social structures that allowed it to grow. Lessons from the past were either learned or ignored, influencing whether the new society thrived or repeated old failures. Legacy and long-term impact. The foundations laid by the founders shaped future generations, leaving a lasting impact on governance, culture, and technology. Their choices echo into modern times, influencing how we think about progress, sustainability, and leadership today. Narrator. History is a cycle of collapse and renewal. The question is, will we be the ones to break the cycle, or will we fall like those before us? Final thoughts. Why this story matters today. The story of a salvaged civilization is not just an ancient or hypothetical tale, it's a mirror reflecting our own world. We are living in an era of unprecedented challenges. Climate change threatens resources and stability. Technological advancements reshape society faster than we can regulate them. Political and economic tensions create divisions that could either lead to collapse or transformation. Like the civilizations before us, we stand at a crossroads. Will we learn from history and adapt, or will we repeat the same patterns that led to past collapses? What does it take to be a visionary founder in today's world? Call to action. Continue the exploration. This story doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. The real discussion happens with you. What do you think? Are we living in a time of collapse or renewal? What lessons from salvaged civilizations can we apply to modern society? Can we build a world that avoids the mistakes of the past? Comment below with your thoughts, theories, or historical parallels you find fascinating. Want to explore more? Check out these related videos and resources. Link to a video on lost civilizations. Link to a video on modern societies facing collapse. Recommended reading on historical cycles of civilization rise and fall. To wrap up this deep dive into the rise of a salvaged civilization, let's take a moment to go behind the scenes, answer some viewer questions, and even conduct a poll to hear your thoughts. This segment is all about engaging with you, the amazing community of history enthusiasts, thinkers, and explorers who make these discussions even richer. Behind-the-scenes insights, the research process. Creating this video required digging deep into historical cycles, myths of lost civilizations, and real-world examples of societies rebuilding from collapse. Here's a peek into the research process and some interesting details that didn't make it into the final cut. Uncovering the patterns of collapse and renewal. While researching, I came across numerous examples of civilizations that faced destruction but managed to rebuild, from ancient Rome to post-war Japan. One of the most fascinating cases I found was Salvaged, a Neolithic settlement that shows early evidence of people reusing and rebuilding on the ruins of older structures, an early form of salvaging civilization, lost stories, and forgotten founders. Many historical figures who helped rebuild societies after collapse were overlooked in mainstream history books. Did you know that after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, Irish monks helped preserve knowledge by copying ancient texts, keeping classical learning alive during the Dark Ages? Fun production challenges. When editing this video, I wanted to visually capture the contrast between a collapsed civilization and a thriving, rebuilt one, which meant using dramatic CGI reconstructions and historical animations. The hardest part? Choosing what to keep and what to cut. There were so many fascinating details that couldn't fit into the main video, so maybe I'll make a part 2 if you're interested. Viewer Q&A. Your questions answered. Let's take a moment to respond to some viewer questions from previous videos. Q. What's the most successful example of a civilization salvaging itself after collapse? A. There are several, but Japan after World War II is one of the most striking. After devastation from the war, Japan underwent a massive economic and technological transformation, becoming one of the world's leading economies within just a few decades. It's a modern example of rebuilding from ruins with vision and innovation. Q. Could something like this happen again in our modern world? A. Absolutely. Many experts believe that climate change, resource depletion, and geopolitical tensions could challenge our civilization in ways similar to past collapses. The real question is, how will we respond? Will we salvage and rebuild wisely, or will we repeat the mistakes of the past? Interactive poll. Have your say. Now it's time for you to weigh in. Vote in the comments. Which civilization do you think has the most inspiring story of rebuilding after collapse? A. Ancient Rome, after the fall leading to the Renaissance. B. Japan post-WWE transformation. C. The Mayans, cities abandoned but culture survived. D. Another civilization? Comment your pick. Drop your vote in the comments and let's discuss. Call to action. Join the conversation. This discussion doesn't end here. It continues with you. What do you think? Would you want to see a deeper dive into a specific salvaged civilization? Do you believe history is cyclical and we might face a similar challenge in the future? What qualities do you think are needed to rebuild a society successfully? Comment below with your insights, theories, or any questions you have. If you enjoyed this bonus segment, let me know by hitting the like button. And if you haven't yet, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another deep dive into history's greatest mysteries.